Welcome to the Tom Matt Show. You are walking through the front door of the retirement zone. And now, your host, Tom Matt.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Sandy for bringing us in like she always does on our bumpers. Really great to hear her voice. Last week, Brock was here, Brock Fletcher and Kendall Brooks, talking about winning time with KB and Brock. Kendall Brooks is such a great guy, and he's a testament to Brock and what he's doing with hiring people. And now that KB is in the NFL, it's nice to talk to him about his training. We didn't really talk all that much about the reality of real estate. We mixed in a little bit, but mostly it was about his preparation as a elite athlete and what he has to go through. So that if you're interested in that, check that out, because it was very informative with Kendall Brooks. He is a defensive back with the Tennessee Titans as we speak. Now, you know how the NFL goes. Who knows about that? Today, my brother from another mother, another one, or my son from another mother, for his 15th visit. He's the man. He's Lee Boyce. He's a strength and conditioning coach who works with clients and athletes for muscle strength and sport performance. He's based in Toronto. He's done lots and lots of media. He's been a adjunct faculty at higher ed at the highest level. He's done TV and radio, CBC, ABC News, Sun News, CP24, Men's Health, Men's Fitness, Oxygen, Esquire. Lee's been around. His latest publications are fantastic. He is going back to his roots, and he's doing his thing. We're going to call this one Trainer Talk, because one of the bullets that I have here from Lee is talking about how the business has changing how the training after 40. These are just the points we're going to cover today, everybody. How the business has changed and what you want to know about that. The training after 40 is way different than 30. And we'll talk about Lee and his career and his injury that he had back in the day, 10 years ago when we were friends, long ago. Social media is an unreliable teacher and learning tool, that's for sure. And then charging your worth. So this is really a fitness-oriented trainer talk program with my man, the guy that knows his stuff so well. Want to welcome back to the radio program my buddy. He's the man, Lee Boyce. Lee, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good. It's been a day, so I'm glad to be able to have a nice talk here and just wind things down and just get into the zone.
Tell everybody about your day, man. Get caught up. This is your time to kind of get warmed up. So as a professional personal trainer, and you're in the gym and you're really getting back down onto the floor, talk about your day.
Yeah, both feet on the ground here. We're doing lots of training sessions again. Starting off 2026 with a bang. I know now we're in April already, so it's time is flying. But really, my goal with 2026 was to just get a lot more client business one-on-one, and so that's what's been happening. And so in the last 3 months, I've gotten 8 new clientele. And so those clients have been working with on a pretty consistent basis. And that's what's been up. So, just overall today, I had 4 clients to see, and I was back to back with them. And, now it's a good feeling to be busy again with that sort of work, especially in the absence of other things as far as the industry and the landscape having shifted. So we're going to get into that today.
We are going to get into that today. So tell everybody about your personal life. I mean, we've had some situations where we've talked about your injury in the past and you as a professional, but tell everybody about you and a little bit of your history.
Yeah. So my history goes back, if you want to go back to like high school or university level. I mean, I was an athlete in a lot of different sports. University, I ran track and competed at a pretty good elite level there as far as national competitions and so on. And then I got into fitness training at the same time. Midway through university, I was getting into the gym life. And so from that point, sort of took off as far as just getting the passion for that and running with it, not even walking with it, but running with it. And fast forward 19 years and here we are. So lots of different things of accomplishments and whatnot in that time, which I'm really happy about. And, I'm glad that foundation came from being an active athlete in a sport and having been coached myself, having been entrenched into that kind of world, because I think that it shapes the way that I train clients and knowing what programming feels like, what periodization feels like, what discomfort feels like even as well, and just learning different motivational tactics and different hacks that can allow you to align with different people and what their hot buttons are, what things are that they will give them the impetus to go forward and work hard themselves. And that's a different thing for every person. It's not going to be quite the same set of skills that we have to use. And so, lots of the stuff I talk about today, when I give talks and I travel and give lectures and all that stuff, it is gearing and edging itself more toward the communication aspect of coaching and those soft skills that are really going to set you apart. You can have all the knowledge that you want in the theoretical side of things, but if you're not a good communicator, then you're doomed in this industry. That's for sure.
I have to ask you though, because you just used the word coaching, and I'm self-proclaimed as a self-improvement coach, performance living kind of coach. But the difference between coaching, mentorship, and training, there are three different areas. And when you're talking about coaching, and I know that you mix the training and the coaching together because you like to get to know your people, as we have talked about before. That first visit when you have with a client, how important is that for people to understand the time that the trainer should be putting into you to get to know you? Because you can train someone and teach them how to lift a barbell or do a dumbbell curl or an overhead press, but it's the coaching aspect tied in with your personal training that really makes the difference. Please talk about that, Lee.
So I think it's multifactorial. First of all, I think that it is very important to differentiate between what training and coaching might mean, at least in my world. And that is that training, I think it comes down to, okay, here's how you physically do the exercise. Here is the workout that somebody's going to do. Here's me pushing you to do that workout and train hard and work out hard, all that stuff. The coaching aspect gets into a little bit more of the nitty gritty as far as, again, motivational tactics, different things that are going to make somebody really, really connect to the client, right? And being a voice of reason for them too. I think that if the goal is sustainability and being able to be doing this when you're 85 and training yourself when you're 85 and still going to the gym and all that stuff and make a lifestyle out of this, then it's important to be coached into having that right mindset and be coached into having the right relationship with the gym. So coaches, I think have a lot more of a responsibility on their shoulders to be a positive example and not just provide workouts for their clients. And that's going to be something that I think it kind of blends into even the mentorship aspect, where in the sense of it's going to make a client really feel like they can rely on that coach or be molded by that coach. And that's very important.
You have to express your care for the client. And if you don't feel that with your trainer, everybody, then you might want to keep looking for another trainer, because the way that we work, and believe me, and Lee, you can back this up because we're going to talk about this as one of our bullets today about charging your worth. Good trainers are worth their weight in gold. I mean, because they will get to know you as a person. They will teach you about periodization. They will get you the motivational tactics and not just lifting the dumbbell. Set up the rest of the today's show, because we got a minute to go here and where you want to go with this. I've talked about those 4 bullets, but what is your main point you want to get through today, Lee?
I think that most importantly, when it comes to working with a client, if there's not a proper relationship that's built between the trainer and the client, initially especially, that should, like you said, it should really affect who you look for and whether you keep looking, right? I literally just today, this is great timing actually, just today I had one first-time session. And that first-time session with the client was also a first-time lifter. She has never touched a weight in her life. The whole world of the gym was new to her. Everything. She was intimidated. She was nervous. She was not sure what she was going to expect. All of that stuff, right? Very, very nice lady. And this person, most of the time that I spent with her for that first hour and change that I spent with her was me talking to her, explaining to her and letting her know that this is an environment that is built toward or geared toward progress and improvement. And this is where we want to be. So don't ever feel a certain way or feel ashamed of yourself being here or whatnot. When you have that kind of idea or that kind of mentality, it's going to really, really help you sustain yourself.
Number 1 trainer in North America, in my opinion, calling this one Trainer Talk with Lee. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262. or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Lee Boyce is here. We're talking trainer talk. We got some points we want to share with you. If you're thinking about getting in the gym, you're getting back in the gym, you're going in the first time, like Lee was just telling us about a first-time client. He's teaching a woman the very beginning of the gym. Before we get into all of the nitty-gritty, though, I gotta do some business here, and I gotta throw some love to Brock Fletcher and the selling team of Keller Williams Realty, where trust is their middle name. You've heard me say this many times. Keller Williams Realty is helped us get rid of Big House Holt, which maybe I didn't say that correctly. We sold Big House Holt. It was a great place to live for us, but we needed to part. Brock gave us the bad news, good news, whatever, and hit his number. And then through Mikey Deadman, we found Little House Lansing, where we're recording this episode today. And away we go. Everything's been great. And we love this place so much. Call Brock today. There's a couple numbers here, everybody. 517-853-6408. Or get this one. This is the main one. 517-303-3262. 517-303-3262. That's Brock's cell phone number. Text him. Leave him a voicemail. He will respond to you that day. You'll hear his message, and he always returns his calls on time. You can always go online to kwsellingteam.com. You can go to the bottom of our website, tommattshow.com, and click on through. At the bottom of that page is all of the banners for several of our friends and our sponsors. Go there. Sweet website. You guys will love this website. It's so nice. Sell your home without hassles like we did. Buy your home without hassles. Get a good price. Get good advice. They have the team. They specialize. They don't cannibalize each other's work over there. They all work as a team. They have specialists, and they will get it done. No doubt about it. And just, if you need some advice, listen to some of the episodes here on the website. Reality of Real Estate. We've been doing it for a long time, and there are plenty of freebies there for you to scope out. That's, again, Brock Fletcher, 517-303-3262. Want to say, lastly, hello to Joan Wright from Williamston. Hope you're feeling well, Joan, and everything's going great. You can drop me an email anytime if you want, or text, or get a hold of Brock, and I'll get a hold of you directly. Today, Lee Boyce is here. 15th visit to the show, calling this one Trainer Talk. Lee's been going through changes, as we all do. We all go through changes in our life. Lee, before we jump into the topics, I always like to kind of refresh everybody's memory, because maybe they're new to the show, but you had a very, very severe knee injuries, actually, about 10, 11 years ago, when we had just started to get to know each other way back in the day when the show was virtually brand new. Like you to talk about that, because that phase of your life, you went through some dark periods, and everybody has to go through these periods of, rest, recovery, perhaps surgeries. Talk about that a little bit. What did you learn from that injury? Talk about that, because it was big.
The injury was a bilateral patellar tendon rupture. So my kneecaps, basically, they got disconnected. I was playing basketball when it happened, and it was on an attempt for a slam dunk. And so it was very excruciating. That took a double knee surgery to reconstruct. And then it took a process of getting back to my feet after a couple of months in a wheelchair, after a couple of months in straight leg braces and range of motion splints and all kinds of stuff with crutches and all that. So it was very, very trying time for sure. And it really taught a lot, because the one thing that I can look at and say is there's lemonade that can be made out of the lemons, because being a trainer in the industry and having to deal with that means that you have a lot more sensitivity toward clients who have issues, have injuries or prior surgeries or some sort of restrictions to their mobility. I was young when that happened, or I was younger when it happened, right? And, if I meet somebody who's, let's say, 60 plus, and they had something similar that happened to them when they were in their 50s or their 40s, that rate of recovery and that change for them is going to be more aggressive, more drastic for them, and a lot more to recover from, because of the trauma and just because of weathering, because of mileage on their bodies, because of, might be even deconditioning, who knows? So it just made me have a little bit of a different lens through which I look at injuries and recuperation, and, even program design and programming for those injuries to be respected. And so things like mobility, body weight work, stretching, all kinds of stuff like that, isometric work, different kinds of contractions. These things now played a bigger role in my own training and also in the training for clients, which is going to really help them diversify their palate first and foremost and service them really, really well.
The reason I bring this up, everybody, is just to illuminate that Lee has had his injuries and he kind of sort of glossed over it a little bit. I didn't want to interrupt him, but he injured both of his knees at the same time. I want to make that clear. This was the same injury to both of his legs. So I can relate to this with my knee replacements, you guys, because they say they'll do both knees at the same time for a knee replacement, but there's a 10% chance, from what my doc told me, 10% chance of death. And I'm like, well, I think I'll wait 8 weeks and get the other one done after 8 weeks. Lee didn't have that choice. He was injured. It's just like you're getting an injury, you're getting a car accident. So he had to recoup and get his mind right and bring his body back. How long did it take you, buddy, to kind of get back to the new normal for Lee Boyce?
So I remember getting back. So I got back into the gym. The first thing that I did when I could was get back into the gym and start, number one, being around the environment of people who were training toward a common goal, which is, just bettering yourself. So that helped a lot with your confidence level. It kept you out of the dumps as well, as far as just your mental state, just being around healthy people who are working out and all that stuff. So that was a couple of months later. But as far as getting out of my braces, getting off of the crutches, getting off of all that stuff, that probably was about 4 months total. And then by the time that I could actually jog up a hill, I remember this very, very distinctly. It was on the year mark that I was able to jog upwards on a hill. Couldn't do it on flat ground yet. And the 2-year anniversary was the date that I set to be able to dunk a basketball again, which is what I got injured doing. And I was able to do that on the literal anniversary of 2 years doing that. So I would call that around the time where if somebody didn't see my scars, or if somebody didn't know, if I didn't tell them, that they wouldn't know that the injury had happened. And so that was my goal all along. And luckily and gladly, nothing has happened since then. But you're never going to be quite the same. There will always be a couple of setbacks and hiccups and swelling here and this kind of issue there and whatnot. It's just the new life. So it just makes you have to be smarter with your training. That's for sure.
Well, that's the whole point. That's why I wanted to, because I knew Lee would go down this road, everybody. Lee Boyce is our guest today, Trainer Talk. Lee is one of the finest trainers in North America. He's based out of Toronto. He's written, spoke, teaches, been all over the place, and he's on the gym floor. He's conducting sessions. He had 4 sessions today. So talking Trainer Talk. We all go through some kind of life change. So training, what I really liked what you said, Lee, I'm going to carry this through because we're almost on break here. But what you said about the socialization of getting yourself just back around the people. Give me a quick answer on that one. How vitally important was that to you?
Incredibly important. There's studies all over the place that says that community can build somebody up in terms of their mental health and resiliency in any aspect, not just with regards to gym stuff. And so being able to have a touch point, being able to talk to people, being able to communicate with people and see that, you're not all in this alone, right? You have some kind of community aspect that's going to really, really bolster your strength.
That I can absolutely back up 100% because that's something that I felt when I was locked down for 4 months, everybody. The social isolation was rough. Again, this is the Tom Matt Show, Trainer Talk with Lee Boyce. We'll be right back.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Thanks to Mitch for doing all of our audio production work. Does a great job. Been doing it for years for us now. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. Great guy. Vanessa doing her thing with all of the video, and she's getting very creative with our little clips, and people like them. And even on LinkedIn, things are doing really well over there. I like to do the testimonials here for Brock Fletcher. Again, the phone number is for Brock Fletcher and the selling team of Keller Williams Real Estate because they're such a huge supporter of ours. Be joining Brock's new mastermind group here very soon. Looking forward to that, getting together with a bunch of people talking about the same things and making everybody else better. That's what the selling team of Keller Williams Realty really wants to do for you. 517-853-6408. or 517-303-3262, 303-3262, Brock's cell phone number. The testimonial time from Becky in East Lansing. We were always kept in the loop. That's a good thing. If you're in the housing, if you're looking to buy and sell, and you're just at that phase in your life, let me tell you, it gets stressful. So if you're kept in the loop, that's good. That's really good. This is a quote from Becky, a testimonial from East Lansing. We were always kept in the loop when new properties became available. That's hard because these things coming, I mean, it's aggressive out there, and you have a very low supply and a very high demand. You find yourself, you better be ready with the pros. We found the information provided was very accurate and helpful in continuing the process of making an informed, love this, talking with Lee Boyce, our guest today, informed decision-making, making good choices, making an informed decision for purchasing vacant property. That's Becky from East Lansing. Thank you for that, Becky. That was really nice of you to do that for Brock and the selling team. They're the real deal, everybody. The real deal. Again, phone number 517-303-3262, kwsellingteam.com is their website. Sell your home without hassles like we did. Buy your home without hassles like we did, because Brock, Stacy, Mikey Deadman, they're the best. Back to Lee Boyce, our guest today. Lee, we were just talking quickly in break, and I had to cut you off a little bit. I apologize for that. About 2025, and in one of your bullets for today's episode, how the business has changed, and you've leaned back into being a trainer. It's funny how things, like we were just talking about your injury and how that changed your focus and made you a better trainer, a better person, a better human being, period. Because when you go through adversity and you overcome, you get better, in my opinion. So your business changed. Let's talk about that. Give you the bulk of this next segment here to talk about that. So what happened in 2025 and how are you feeling now?
Well, 2025 wasn't necessarily the exact time. This was something that crept up gradually, and the landscape of the business has changed, right? A lot of my professional identity was surrounding being a writer, a pretty well-published writer in all sorts of different mediums. And it's not that I'm not doing that anymore. It's just, it's way less of a thing today than it was, let's say, 10 years ago or 8 years ago, or even 6 years ago, just pre-COVID, right? Platforms that are digital have now been sort of usurped by, social media and video content and things like that. So long-form article content is simply less popular. Now, because that was such a major source of, my livelihood, and the fact that it's now so much less than before, I had to make a little bit of a recognition anyway to say, hey, could I keep on languishing about this, or is there a pivot that I need to make here, right? In 2024, I gave a talk at my friend Andrew Coates, his seminar down in Edmonton, Alberta. And that talk was called Trainer for Life. And the nature of the talk I was talking about was how people in the fitness industry feel like they have to graduate from being a trainer and talk about being a business development coach or some kind of a mentorship guru. And it's starting to depopularize the importance of staying on the gym floor, working with clients, and really mastering that skill and being that 20, 25, 30-year veteran, right? And so I'm saying these things, but I'm not thinking about, okay, well, what does that mean? What does leaning into that really mean on my end? And so in 2025, when, between that and losing some clients, and between the fact that I wasn't teaching at Humber for the semester and all sorts of stuff like that, it was like, okay, it's time to get busy again. It's time to actually practice this more so. Now, I was always working with clients. I never stopped, but how much of it? When was my last really, really busy year with clients? And so I had to go back a little bit. So it was time to lean back into that idea. And so that's what I've done. I started making some different changes as far as schedule availabilities, a few different promotions that were out there, and it attracted more clientele. And I'm pleased to say that I'm significantly busier even right now, and doors are still open. So we're changing things up.
I got to ask you, and this is advice for me as a trainer, because I just re-upped on my NASM certification, because I redo it every 2 years. I want to keep that thing active. I don't do a lot of one-on-one, but for myself, Lee, and I'm going to ask you your opinion on this, the practice of work, you said the practice of working with people, I think the same way. I will give away sessions to students at the university. First off, they don't have the money to pay. Plus, I need the reps as a trainer to try things? What's my communication skills? Those type of things. Is that the right way to think of it? Maybe it's because I'm a media guy. I'm in more of the media, kind of like you, and doing this stuff. So what do you think about that? Is that a good idea as a trainer for trainers out there that are maybe in the media that give away some sessions just to keep your spear sharp?
Yeah. So two things. First of all, when it comes to other industries that exist, we can think about how many different examples there are of, let's say, a medical student or a dentistry student or something like that, who is still learning the ropes of the profession, and how they will take advantage of different ways to immerse themselves into a practice-based situation. The course that I teach, even, right, in the on-campus internship, it gives the people who sign up for this internship, it gives the students a chance to work with them. And so it's like a free thing, but they're getting their reps in that way, right? Now, how does this apply to a veteran trainer like yourself or a veteran trainer like myself? It's funny because last week I was in Seattle, right? And this weekend I was in Montreal, but last weekend I was in Seattle. And in the talk that I gave in Seattle was talking about communication and all that stuff as well with the clients, first-time clients. And the question that I asked was, when is the last time, and there was a lot of veteran trainers there, when was the last time that you did something for free? When's the last time you gave away a session or two? It's not, especially if you're not a busy trainer, then is it really, oh, my session is about money, I'm losing money by doing that, or, my time is money? No, your time's not money. Your time is your time. It's just an hour. That's what you're giving up, is an hour, because you're not busy. You wouldn't have anyone to fill that session anyway. So if you want to get busier, or you want to get more experience, or you want to get more respect, or you want to get any of the things that are good about training, then what's wrong with trading an hour of your time for the potential to have or land clients that will end up paying you thousands and thousands of dollars, cumulatively speaking, right? It's a really, really good and a little bit of a no-brainer trade-off for me. And so this is what I did as well. I created these vouchers by the end of 2025 that turned themselves into 2 free sessions for each person who took advantage of it. And what did that turn into? Every single person who's done the voucher thing with me so far has signed up. So far, everything's been 100%. I'm batting 1,000 right now. So I want to keep that going. I want to keep that rolling.
So that is such a great marketing tip. That's Lee Boyce is speaking, Trainer Talk. Lee is a phenomenal, as I say, he's in the top 5 of personal trainers in North America, period. Okay. Because he's been published. He's written books. He speaks prolifically all over the place. He's just a very articulate young man. And he's been around the block a bunch of times. What he was just telling you guys is gold. Give away some sessions, do it for free, do it for the intrinsic value, right, Lee? I mean, do it for the intrinsic value. I got a minute to go here and I don't have to cut you off, but the intrinsic value, how much intrinsic value do you get from doing those free vouchers?
A lot.
A lot. That's the thing, everybody. You want to try to fill that funnel of your business, give away the 2 voucher thing. What a great idea. And Lee is batting 1,000. That advice right there is worth listening to the show, following his work. Google Lee Boyce, find his articles all over the place. Got a lot of shows on our website. And his last one with Melody Schoenfeld was great, talking about the book that those 2 wrote together. That was interesting because Lee's a big, tall guy, big, muscular guy, and Melody Schoenfeld is a very petite trainer. So that's another good reason to check out Lee and all of his work. Again, Trainer Talk with Lee Boyce. Having some good times. We're going to get Lee's contact info when we come back from break here, everybody. You're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
This segment of The Tom Matt Show is brought to you in part by The Source of Light and Power by band leader Archivall and broadcaster Mitch Anderson. Hear the sound that is endorsed by Odyssey headphones, linear tube audio, RME converters, and Peluso microphones at sourceoflightandpower.bandcamp.com.
Welcome to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of The Tom Matt Show. Thank you, Sandy, for doing the bumper. As I've said before, Sandy, that's probably the only time you ever hear her voice on radio. She absolutely will never come on the show, but that's her voice on our little bumpers, and I'm so pleased that she did that. Thanks to Mitch Anderson, and of course, we've got Vanessa doing her thing on our video side. Lee Boyce is here, calling it Trainer Talk, his 15th visit to the radio program. Lee has been with me a long time. I mean, probably 12 years. And so we're good friends, and I really appreciate what he does. And he's solid. And the advice that we're going to give to you, not only to the clients, but Lee's going to have some chat. He's going to have a little chat with the trainers out there. He's going to talk up to the trainers. So you guys, if you're a trainer or you're thinking about becoming a trainer, you're going to want to stick around for this segment here. But before we go there, Lee, contact info, email, websites, all that stuff. How would you like people to connect with you, find your work, everything? Go ahead.
Yep. So leeboyce.com. Let's start there. My website is full of pretty much an archive of anything else that I'm about to list here, including links to my Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, which is X now. So leeboyce.com is a one-stop shop for a lot of stuff. Enjoy my blog, which is very different than most other people's blogs out there in the fitness world. I talk about things I see in the industry. I talk about things I see in the culture. So that's a pretty nice little outlet for me. Lee Boyce, Instagram. Lee Boyce Instagram is Coach Lee Boyce. Lee Boyce Facebook is Coach Lee Boyce as well. And same with my Twitter. My X is Coach Lee Boyce. So you can find me on those 3 platforms. 3 is more than enough. I don't have TikTok. I don't have Snapchat. I'm 39 years old. That's enough. So that would be my contact information. And just try to think of whether or not there's anything else. Get a hold of the book, Strength Training for All Body Types, The Science of Lifting and Levers. That is available pretty much everywhere, but you can most reliably find it on Amazon, if not on the Human Kinetics website, which is the publisher that has released this book. And that is available in print format. It's available in digital format as well. And it's available in different languages, if I'm not mistaken, too. I think they just took the plunge with that. So that's going to be a great thing for you, too. And it's not just for trainers. It's also for everyone, man. It's for everybody. So people who want to get a good understanding of the physics and the science of anthropometry and their body types and how to strength train for those things, this is the resource for you.
Well, body types make a big difference. I mean, that's another thing about having a good trainer, everybody. They could check out, say you're doing a squat and for my frame and with me getting a new hip and got new knees and everything, my squats had become like basically a Bulgarian split squat, and that's about it. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, if your body type is that way, that's a good thing about Lee's book, because he's coming from the tall athlete perspective and the petite woman perspective, both trainers, and how that's interrelated. Lee, we were talking a little bit during break about some of the conversation that you could have with trainers. Now, for people that are not trainers, you're going to find this to be interesting as well, because to find a good trainer, the trainers need to get with a guy like a Lee Boyce or maybe myself and kind of have some tips on this. But what would you like to share? You've done many, many, many hundreds, maybe thousands of sessions throughout your career. What would you like to relate to the trainers to make them better trainers?
Yeah. So first thing I'll say in terms of getting business, I'll say the hardest part, the thing of the truth is, and this is going to be a gigantic sort of spoiler alert or a big, maybe I shouldn't be saying this at all because I'm going to ruin the whole secret. Training for results is not complicated at all. It really isn't. It's very painfully simple. We suffer from an identity crisis in the fitness industry because we want to sound as smart as the leading scientists and doctors and all this stuff. And so we try to make it way harder than it really has to be in terms of what yields results, and things that are reliable and tried, tested, and true will always shine through. So with that being said, it means that most trainers probably know a thing or two about what they're doing to get people results, as long as they understand these basics. And that goes for clients as well. It doesn't take much learning to know this stuff. So when it comes to getting business, the answer is all you really need to do is get a client in front of you. If you can get somebody in front of you, not try to convince them via virtual or through an ad or whatnot, but you could actually get them face to face, then you could show them what value you truly provide. And what value is that? Well, this comes from the stuff that doesn't have to do with the theory. It comes from the stuff like your communication, all of the soft skills that make a person a better communicator, that make somebody a good mentor, a good coach, all the things we talked about at the very beginning. And this is what's going to make the difference between and set you apart from other trainers and other coaches that are out there. And, even if your skills aren't where you want them to be, that relationship is going to be worth its weight in gold. And that's where the magic happens. That's where a client will stick around forever. And that's where you're going to have those lifers. So that's number one. So the second thing is when it comes to assessing a client, and this can go both ways. The clients can pay attention to this too. So if you're thinking about getting a trainer, think about these 4 points. And if you are a trainer, think about fulfilling these 4 points. I call it, this is completely patented. I give it my own patent. This is my own proprietary information here. I call it the TEST protocol, TEST. So obviously an assessment kind of masks itself as a test for the client to see what they've got, what they're doing, right? But I also made an acronym out of it. So test, first line, T, trust. How much can you get a person to trust you? How much trust do you as the client have in the trainer? E, enjoyment. Are they giving a session or an assessment or something that fosters an environment that somebody actually likes being in? Is it something that's, at least in some capacity, fun, enjoyable? I liked this session. I want to spend my time working with this coach. S, safety. Are they doing things that respect your issues? Do you have injuries? Do you have chronic pain? Are you doing adjustments for your body type? Are you doing proper technique that shows that this person knows how to keep you safe? Number 3. And number 4, the final T, theory. So this is where you do have, as a trainer, one chance to flex those knowledge guns a little bit. I'm not a big using clinical terminology and all that stuff type of guy, but if there's 1 hour out of your entire existence where you do use a little bit of that to show that you knew a few things or to show you went to school for this, it would be then. Show your theory guns just a little bit to show that you do have a good handle on this and you've done it before. Those 4 pillars, if you can take care of those 4 things, you will land every client that you train. And vice versa, if you're a client and you see those 4 things, know that your trainer knows a few things about this industry.
That was another piece of gold. Hope you guys are jotting this stuff down. Of course, you can always go get the podcast and check it out that way. And of course, we split these things up into little pieces. But I'm going to repeat those because I had never heard that. And Lee's been on this show 15 times. This is 15th visit, so 14 times. But the 4 points, his test theory, should patent this thing, trust, enjoyment. Love that, Lee, because if you can show a client some fun and have a good time and meet them, mentally where they're at, because maybe they're like your client that you had today, the brand new woman who's never lifted a dumbbell in her life, doesn't even know how to spell dumbbell. The enjoyment factor is so important. They want to come back. You don't want to make it so brutally hard unless that's the type of client you're working with. And I know all about that because those are the kind of people that come to me. They know I'm kind of a hard ass, and it's like, but that's how I get my results. And, if it doesn't fit, then maybe somebody else. But then safety, form, posture, Lee's spot on with that. And then I love the theory and the flexing the knowledge guns. That's another Lee perfect one, flexing the knowledge guns. All right, we got to keep rolling here. So training at 40's had that basic different look for you. Social media, let's set this up. We got a minute and a half to go before we go to the last segment. But social media is an unreliable teacher and learning tool. Please set that up, Lee, and then we'll come back and finish that thread. And then we'll finish the show, everybody. For you trainers out there and the clients, charging your worth and knowing if you're getting value. So go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, social media first and foremost. Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse because on the one hand, it's a good resource for a lot of different things and ways to connect and ways to get a little bit more of an audience and all that stuff. But then on the other hand, there's that many more people who abuse that reality. And so all of a sudden, you're doing anything and selling your soul for virality in order for you to get more eyes on very, very watered down or weak content. Stuff that is more aggrandizing to you yourself versus stuff that's actually serving the client in front of you or the potential client in front of you. And, this is where people start missing the mark and where clients or potential clients start getting the wool pulled over their eyes in terms of what is a good, legit coach and what isn't, right? I was actually just reproving one of my clients about this because she is very, very much influenced by, unfortunately, influencers who have it mainly about them and themselves and check out my body. And here's the lighting tricks. And here's all this stuff. And I'm going to wear this and that. Right. And there's not any substance to the content at all. Right. So if you want to learn something or you want to pick something up from the gym or even adopt the right mentality toward exercise in the gym and body image and all that stuff, it's super important that you have the right, most reliable people in your corner in social media in order for you to learn from. So this is the way that we want to think about things. This is what we want to nuance our thinking toward. And the algorithm is going to start feeding you good examples of proper strength, proper mindset, proper mentality, and you're going to be golden.
I have plenty to say about this. I'm a social media person, of course, with the radio program and the stuff that I do, but I have plenty to talk about on this one when we come back. Calling this one Trainer Talk. If you're a trainer or if you're looking for a trainer, this show is for you because Lee he's top of the mountain. You're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262. or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. If you're listening to this segment, you're listening to the fifth segment of this show. You're either picking it up on some of our radio stations that carry all 5 segments, or you're listening to our podcast. Either way, thank you so much, because the 5th segment typically is when we have our takeaways from our guests, our expert guests. Lee Boyce is with us today, Trainer Talk. And so they're always very, very, very good. All right, I want to get back to this point from Lee's notes. Social media is an unreliable teacher and learning tool. And I've got something I want to add real quick before I throw it back to Lee. And then we're going to talk about charging your worth and receiving your worth as a client or as a trainer. Either way, because it has to go both ways. But there was recently, since I'm on TikTok, and I have a pretty decent following on TikTok, there was a guy, and TikTok's big on selling things. You get a certain amount of followers and you can become a person who can sell things and make money on TikTok. I don't do that myself. I don't know if I'll ever do that. TikTok keeps coming after me, wanting me to do that. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with. I like doing testimonials for products, but and if we get a brand sponsorship, sure, we could do something like that. But selling, like this guy was pitching this ab roller thing. Now, this was sort of a fancier ab roller. Guy was probably 20 years old. He's jacked and he's got abs coming out of his abs. And I rarely do this, you guys, but I had to call the guy out on it. And I left a comment on his TikTok saying, come on, bro, you're misrepresenting what you're doing for these people. Abs are made in the kitchen. And so, yeah, you got a great body and this tool might be great and all this stuff, but you didn't get those abs from strictly that device, that thing, because all it was like a little ab roller with little elbow pads on it or something like that. You guys have seen these things. And I just had to call them out on it because you get people's hopes up. They spend their 20, 30, 40 bucks on these devices, these things that will gather dust in their basement or their little corner and never use them again. Be careful about this stuff. That's what we're talking about with this social media's unreliable teacher. And so the guy sent me a note back, Lee Boyce is our guest. And he says, well, yeah, if people have their nutrition, and I'm like, listen, I don't want to hear it. I'm just trying to be straight. What do you think about that, man? People pitching these like info tools, and it's just like, but they're jacked, and they're trying to, and it's just nonsense.
The product stuff it's its own little world. And again, like, I understand that people are willing to do whatever it is to protect their brand and their business and whatnot, but sometimes it becomes egregious. And sometimes it gets to a point where they know they're selling out and they're doing it just for the sake of earning a couple of bucks on the people who don't know any better. And the big overarching goal needs to be to increase the public knowledge of this, of just what fitness entails, which again comes back to simplicity being number one. And if we can do that, and if that means that even the influencers out there who are more focused on themselves could make it more about the clientele instead, then all of a sudden they can better filter what stuff out there is garbage and what stuff out there is actually worth investing in. So it's sort of like a dual responsibility, and more people need to know that, because I don't think much of that kind of stuff is going to go away. I just think there has to be more and more voices that call it out, and more voices that don't do it too.
And that's the only reason I made the comment, everybody, because I rarely ever do this, because I want people to be happy and make money. But it's like, this was just way over the top. I mean, it's just too much. And okay, just leave it there. You're making $1 on selling an ab tool thing. And is it worth it? Be a better teacher. Show them what you're doing, not just sell them something. Okay, so we're talking about this as an unreliable teacher. There are a lot of people out there that, and we're referring to social media, everybody, as a learning tool. Lee, there are some good fitness influencers like yourself who is on Instagram. How many followers do you have on Instagram now?
It's 45,000.
Okay, so 45,000, everybody, is a good number. I mean, that's a solid number. Check them out, but send them a note. Because if you do a little bit of digging and you start looking and seeing, well, is this guy published? Who is this person? Do a little bit, just a tiny bit more due diligence on the background of like a Lee Boyce, you're going to find that he's published all over the place. And this guy has got a reputation that's sterling, and away you go. So that's my tip. Is you like that, Lee?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Doing a little bit of homework can go a long way in terms of just getting a good handle on exactly what this person is promoting, what they're preaching, and whether or not it's legitimate stuff. And, things like that, facts won't lie. And it don't even look at necessarily the size of somebody's following, and don't even look at whether or not they have the most pristine physique in the world. Now, I believe that somebody needs to be a practicer and a disciple of their own craft, no questions asked. You'd better look above average if you are a fitness expert saying that fitness is important. I would hope that you beat the average person when it comes to your level of fitness and health. But with that being said, the paradox of that is the fact that if a person is really both feet on the ground, working with a lot of clients, busy helping other people and so on, there's going to be some kind of a ceiling upon which they can get, of which there is going to, their health or their fitness level is going to reflect, right? They're going to only get so muscular. They're going to only get so ripped. They're going to only get so lean, so big, whatever it is that they're going for, because of the fact that they're working and clocking a lot of hours doing what it is that they do for a living, right? And that's just the truth of the matter. So, the person who might have done a fitness competition or a figure competition or a physique show or something like that, and then they start using that and resting on those laurels to say, that's why you should work with me. You don't know the first thing about their knowledge levels. Has nothing to do with their body that they've attained. That just shows that they're good at working out for themselves. It has nothing to do with how good they are at coaching you or identifying your problems or being able to solve your problems and troubleshoot stuff, or know physics or anatomy and all that stuff. So it's a totally different animal.
It's totally unsustainable. I can say this from my own experience, everybody. I have done one bodybuilding show that was right at my 50th birthday. I was a rookie when I did that, and it scared the crap out of me. But I wanted to do it for the own confidence of doing it. But that image that I had, that look, that weight was not sustainable. It's not sustainable. So when you see these jacked, abbed out, bulky people, be a little skeptical, because like Lee's saying, you got to live. And so it's never a perfect thing, but your trainer should carry themselves with good posture and know what they're talking about. Remember what Lee said with the test, the 4 points of test: trust, enjoyment, safety, and theory. If they don't know the safety and they don't have the theory, then they just failed the test. All right, let's go to number 4 on your list here, brother. Charging your worth has become egregious. Now, we want to relate this to the trainers as well as the clients, because the clients, you're obviously footing the bill for this stuff. We want to make sure, and we want you to be successful, because you will tell people, I have a great trainer, or I have a great program, and people will look up to you. We want you to do these things. That's the whole point. So having that value for you and then the value for the trainer. Let's go with that one, Lee. Would you like to talk about that, please?
Yeah, so charging your worth, I actually lowered my rates recently because of the fact that it's a very important thing to understand the temperature of the market that you're in. I live in Toronto, which is a very, very busy and very expensive city to operate in. And so I can get away with charging more per session than somebody who lives in, for example, Wolfville, Nova Scotia, right? Because the demand is going to be different, because the cost of living is going to be different, and all those different things. So the first baseline is to understand what your environment is and what the demographic is as far as geographical location goes, right? The second level to that is now thinking about your own credentials, your own experience and all that stuff, and where you actually fit. As far as charging what you're worth, charging what your knowledge, your experience sort of purports, that becomes a very nuanced conversation. Are you going to say just because you are 20 years deep, or just because you have 5 different degrees or whatnot, that means that you should price yourself out of the market? It's not doing you any favors, right? And so a lot of people might rest on those laurels and start thinking that they should charge extremely high amounts because of that. That's the way it's going to make them feel like they're elite, or that's going to be this sort of top 1% kind of attractive number, right? But in truth, it's truncating the amount of business that you can get. It's just creating a smaller bubble, and a smaller bubble in terms of how many people you can help. And I thought you got into this industry to help people, didn't you? So with that being said, why not charge a rate that might be on the competitively high side, but it's something that's still attainable for a lot of people? Now, if I was to train Ryan Gosling tomorrow, it would be the same rate that I charge him as I would charge the client that I just told you about who I trained for the first time today, right? There's no difference there. And it's a number that is quite attainable for a lot of people because it is reasonable. And that right there, I remember getting a good piece of advice from a diner owner who said, I had a cheeseburger I charged $17.95 for. No one bought it. Best cheeseburger in the city. I went down to $13.95. Everyone bought it. Would you rather be 20% full, charging $500 an hour, or would you rather be at market value and be 120% full? I know the answer for myself.
Give me a minute takeaway there, Lee.
I have a couple of things. So first and foremost, just in the name of strength training, I'll say this, is that all strength training involves lifting weights, but all weight training doesn't involve pushing your strength. So when people think about lifting weights, they think that all of a sudden, if they're lifting 5-pound dumbbells, I'm doing strength training. Not necessarily the case, right? So we have to train a proper way and play the game the proper way if we want to achieve gains in our strength. It's going to apply forces against real resistances that are fairly heavy in order to see those gains. So that's one thing. And the second thing, on the heels of working with my client this morning, I'll say, if you're intimidated in the gym, if you're scared or thinking that you're going to be judged, don't feel that way. The most intimidating people in the gym are the ones who are probably the most willing to help.
Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Thanks to my brother from another mother, and he's my youngest brother, Lee Boyce, Sandy, Brock Fletcher, all of the people over at the selling team, Stacy, Mikey Deadman. We'll talk to you next weekend, everybody. Have a great week. Go out and ignite your life. Remember, the Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. Thanks again to Mitch Anderson and Vanessa for what they do to this program. I am out.
The Tom Matt Show is produced by Mitch Anderson of Black Circle Studios. Original music from the Source of Light and Power by the Arc of All.